I am part of most of Americans that decide to begin to eat healthier at the beginning of the year because it's just so easy to eat junk food. Am I right? I mean, junk food is good, especially like pizza and sweets and all that. It's just so easy to eat junk food, especially starting around October, right? Because that's when you start having all of the candy out for Halloween, and you buy the candy, and then you eat some of it, and then you got to buy more, right? So you have all of that candy, and then it's in my house, and so we've got all that candy, and then November hits, and it's time for pies and right, Thanksgiving meal, and so you have all of that, and then December hits, and that's when, at the very end of November, we have Sarah's birthday. Then the beginning of December is my birthday. Then we have Ethan's birthday. Then we have Christmas. That's a lot of cakes and cookies and baked goods, right? And so all of that is just junk that I love, right? Right? I call it junk, but I love that junk. And it's so easy to just get off the rails and just start eating all of that stuff. And so come January every year, I'm like, my body's got to go into detox. Y'all saw how out of breath I was from doing that motion song, right? And that's simply because for the last 3 or 4 months, I've just been eating junk. And I'm like, I've got to start eating healthy again, all right? So the beginning of the year is always a good time to kind of set those resolutions, to look back at your last year and maybe look at some of your successes, and maybe also to evaluate some of those failures and to say, okay, what can I do differently in the new year? And then it's also a good time to cast some vision for yourself, for your own life, but it's also a good time to cast vision for the student ministry, right? For me to cast some vision for you guys as we look out at this new year that is before us. And so that's what I want to do tonight. I want to spend a little bit of time with you guys casting some vision for this new year. And as I cast this vision, I'm casting this for you as individuals, but also for the student ministry, right? Because the student ministry is made up of individuals. And so if you will catch this vision for your own life individually, it will impact the direction that the student ministry goes over the course of this year. All right, so if you have your Bibles, you can turn to Hebrews 10, 23 through 25. Hebrews 10, 23 through 25. Now, if you were here on Sunday morning, then you will recognize this passage because Pastor Dennis just preached on these very verses on Sunday morning. Now, I'm not going to re-preach Dennis's sermon because that would be awkward. By the way, here's the new vision for the year. Cindy came up with it in the hallway. It's embrace the awkward. So that's a... That's not the new vision. I just had to give Cindy a hard time real quick. All right, but I'm not going to preach Dennis's sermon because that would be awkward. All right, but as we look at these verses that Pastor Dennis looked at on Sunday, these verses, having been in Hebrews already and knowing that we're going to be in Hebrews again, right towards the end of last year, I'm already looking ahead at Pastor Dennis's sermon schedule, looking at what we're going to be reading through and what he's going to be preaching on. And so this passage right here already began to speak to me towards the end of the year, and it really is what has led in vision for my own life for this year, but vision for this student ministry as well in 2020, all right? So let's read these verses. Hebrews chapter 10, verses 23 through 25. It's on the screen as well if you don't have your Bible. All right, it says, "Let us hold on to the confession of our hope without wavering, since he who promised is faithful. And let us watch out for one another to provoke love and good works, not neglecting to gather together, as some are in the habit of doing, but encouraging each other, and all the more as you see the day approaching." Now, as I read that passage last year, at the end of last year, as I was reading that passage, preparing for this new year, there was a phrase that really stuck out to me, and this is what I want to look at with you tonight, this phrase, all the more as you see the day approaching. In regards to everything he has just said, right? Holding on to the confession of our hope, not wavering, right? Watching out for one another, provoking love and good works, not neglecting to gather together, encouraging one another. In regards to everything he has just said, he says, all the more, do it all the more as you see the day approaching. Now, what is this day that is approaching? It's the day of Jesus' return, right? Now, I don't know the day or the hour that Jesus is going to return. You don't know that either. We don't know the day or the hour that Jesus is going to return. But here's what the author of Hebrews knew, and here's what we can know as well. Every day is a day closer to Jesus' return. Every year is a year closer to Jesus' return. Every day that passes and every year that passes is closer to the return of Jesus. And so here's what we can be sure of. We are closer in 2020 to the return of Jesus than we were in 2019. We are closer today to the return of Jesus than we were yesterday, because every day we get closer to the return of Jesus. Even though we don't know when it is, we know that that day is approaching. And the author of Hebrews is saying, look, Jesus is coming back. And because Jesus is coming back, even though I don't know when that is, I know that he is coming back. And because that day is approaching, because one day Jesus is going to bring all of this in this age to an end and usher in something new, right? Because there is a new day approaching when Jesus returns, we need to do this all the more as we see that day approaching. Now, as we think about the vision for this student ministry, I want to simplify it for you to zero in, to zoom in even closer to not just this phrase, but let's go closer to this word, this next word right here, more, all right? That's the word that I want you to cling to this year in the student ministry, and if you would, cling to it as an individual as well, that word, more, all right? Now, as humans, we like more stuff, right? As humans, we like more stuff. That's why, for many of us here in America, that's why we have to say at the beginning of the year, we're going to start eating healthier again, because for the last several months, we have eaten more than we should have. We have had more candy than we should have. We have had more desserts than we should have. We have piled on more food onto our plates than we should have. And it's never good to do anything in excess, right? All of that excess is unhealthy for us, but we like more, right? We just as humans, we like more. We want more. My children, all right? Now, Ethan, he is hungry all the time, so we could say food, he would want more of that. Last night, he had dinner at our house. Then we went to someone else's house, and he had pizza there. And then we got home, and he was like, "Can I eat?" We were like, "You've already had dinner twice. What about third dinner," right? He's hungry again. So more food could be said for him too, but really for both of my children, more toys, more gadgets, more games, all of that stuff, they always want more of that, right? And this is my last year that I can really talk a lot about my children, because Emily's going to be back here with us next year. So since she's not back here, right, I'll kind of tell some stories on them. But I know my daughter's about to be in 7th grade. It's scary. It's scary. But all right, so So we have Christmas, right? And my children, they make these lists, these Christmas wishes, right? They give us the list of the things that they want for Christmas, and we get them these things, right? Not everything on their list because we're responsible parents, right? But we get them some of the stuff off of their list, right? And don't get me wrong, I love giving my children these gifts. I love giving them presents. I love seeing their faces when they open them and the excitement as they see that they're getting some of the stuff that was on their list and maybe some of the stuff that Sarah and I came up with that wasn't on their list, and the excitement that they see when they open those gifts as well. But here's the deal. They get all of these games, they get all of these toys, they get all of this stuff, and they're content maybe for about 3 days, and that may be pushing it, right? and all of a sudden, they're talking about what they want for their birthday and what they want next Christmas. They're already talking about more stuff, and I'm like, I just gave you a heaping pile of stuff, and you're already saying you want more stuff. Here's the deal. Here's a truth that I want you to understand. When the more we want is more of the world, we are never satisfied. When the more we want is more of the world, we are never satisfied. That's my kids' problem, right? They want more stuff, right? That's our problem, right? When we're constantly going after more food, I mean, just basic human nature, we get hungry again. But the same is for the stuff in this world. We pursue the things in this world, and it satisfies us for a moment, right? For my kids, maybe a few days, and then they want more. They're hungry for whatever it is once again, and we are the same way, right? When the more we want is more of the world, we are never satisfied. So to put it bluntly for you, more relationships with boyfriends or girlfriends, it's not going to satisfy you. More popularity won't satisfy you. More of the right kind of clothes won't satisfy you, which, let me pause. Look at these awesome, loud shoes I've got on. Inspired by my six-year-old son's shoes. So if you wonder why I got such colorful shoes, it's because I really liked my 6-year-old son's shoes. I was like, I've got to get some of those. Huh? If only they fit. All right. But more clothes won't satisfy, right? More victories in the sports that we're in, not going to satisfy. More sex won't satisfy. More drugs won't satisfy. More alcohol won't satisfy. More recognition from others won't satisfy us. More likes on Instagram, those hearts, right? That won't satisfy us. More food won't satisfy us. Right? We can pursue more and more and more of all of this stuff, but none of that ultimately will satisfy us. So when the more we want is more of the world, we are never satisfied. So what do we pursue then? If we're not pursuing more of the world, what should we be pursuing more of? Well, let me bring you back to our verse. All right, let's go back to that verse real quick, all right? We go back to what the author of Hebrews is saying here. We should be pursuing more of the confession of our hope, more of what is watching out for one another, more of provoking love, more of provoking good works, more of gathering together. We should do this all the more as we understand that Jesus is coming back, that every day we get closer and closer to his return. So as we think about pursuing this stuff all the more because Jesus is returning, we understand, right? We may die before Jesus returns, right? The author of Hebrews died before Jesus returned. Okay, so we may not live to see the day that Jesus returns, and I mean live on this earth. If we're a believer, then we will be alive with him, all right? But one day we're going to face Jesus, whether it's through his return or whether it's through his death, and every day we get closer to that, right? Every day we either get closer to his return or we get closer to the day that we die. Every day, right? I'm not trying to be a downer here, but that's just the facts of life. every day we get a little bit closer to the day that we're going to see Jesus, either through death or through his return. With that understanding, we should be pursuing these things more, right? We should be doing this more. So let me kind of summarize in just one sentence what the author of Hebrews is saying here, right? In a shorter sentence than this, right? What we need to pursue more of is anything and everything that God has called us to. We should be pursuing more of anything and everything that God has called us to. Now, I said just a second ago that doing things in excess, anything we do in excess, right, is unhealthy, right? There's an exception to that, and that is this truth right here. Let's go to that next truth. It's okay to pursue the things of God in excess. It's okay to pursue the things of God in excess. When we pursue the things of this world, when we want more of this world, right, it never satisfies us. But when we pursue more of God, when we pursue more of the things of God, when we pursue more of what he has called us to, and we're like, man, God, you've called me to this, and I'm going to do it more. Guys, guess what we get? We get more of what matters. When we pursue the things of God in excess, when we pursue more of it, we get more of what matters. All of that other stuff. And I don't know if it's just because, I'm getting closer to 40 now. And so I just recognize now how useless so much of this stuff in this world is. So much of the stuff that we invest our time in, so much of the stuff that we invest our money in, it's meaningless in comparison to the things of God. It's meaningless in comparison to what God has called us to. It's meaningless in comparison to God himself. And so as I am approaching, recognizing that every day I get closer to the day that I am going to see Jesus, whether through his return or through my death, I want to pursue the things of God more. I want to pursue the things of God in excess. All right, so as a student ministry, this is what I would like us to pursue more of this year. All right, I'm going to break it down into 3 things that should be very familiar to you. All right, live the difference, share the difference, make a difference. All right, now you say, well, that's already our vision, right? I thought you were going to cast a new vision. All right, well, yes, this is our vision, and we're going to continue in this as a student ministry. But for 2020, this is what I want to do. I want to add that word more to it. So let's look. Live the difference more. Share the difference more. Make a difference more. Recognizing that the day of Christ is approaching, that the day that Jesus is going to return, that the day that we stand face to face with him is coming nearer and nearer every day. Let's live the difference more. Let's share the difference more, and let's make a difference more. So let's break this down real quick. As we think about living the difference more, let's strive in this year, in 2020, as individuals, which will impact this student ministry, let's strive to live more faithfully. Let's strive to walk in obedience more. Let's strive to put aside our sin more than we ever have before. Let's strive to live the difference that Jesus has made in our life. Let's strive to do that more, right? And so that may mean that you need to look at areas of your life and say, I know that I have laid some stuff down, but there are still areas in my life, areas of disobedience, areas of sin. There are still areas in my life that I need to lay down so that I can live the difference more. Let's strive this year to live the difference more. Let's strive to get even more involved here at First Baptist Watauga, gathering together, right? That's part of living the difference, living out our faith, gathering together with others. Let's strive to be together more. Let's strive to be a part of our growth group so that we can grow and learn and study God's word together, which is going to impact how we live. Let's strive to do that more. All right, so we want to live the difference more. We want to share the difference more. As we think about sharing the difference more, let's strive to share the gospel with our friends more than we've ever done before. Let's make 2020 the year that we share the gospel more with our friends than we have ever shared the gospel before. Let's make 2020 the year that we are more willing to be open about our faith at school, that we are willing to be open about our faith with our friends in our social groups, in our sporting events, that we are willing to be open about our faith more than we ever have before. Let's strive to make this the year that we are willing to start intentional gospel conversations more than we have ever done before. And when I say intentional, that means that we have to think about it. We have to decide, I am going to start gospel conversations, right? If we just wait for them to happen, they're not going to happen. Every once in a while, right, one might pop up, right? But if we just wait for them to happen, more than likely they're not going to happen. But if we are willing to say, I am going to go out of my way, I'm going to be intentional more this year than I ever have been before, I'm going to be intentional in sharing the gospel. That means we are going to be willing to start those conversations. Even though it may be uncomfortable, right? Let's just embrace the awkward. We just came up with that earlier in the hallway, and I'm using it right now. Let's just embrace that uncomfortableness and say, I'm willing to get uncomfortable to share the gospel with a friend that desperately needs Jesus. Because guess what? For them as well, Jesus is coming back soon. They are going to face Jesus either through death or his return. And they need to know him now. And so we need to share Jesus all the more. And so as we share Jesus all the more, then I believe with this vision, we can expect to see more students in the student ministry than ever before. Let's make 2020 the year that we have more students here on Wednesday nights than ever before, because we are willing to share Jesus with others more than we have ever done it before. Let's make 2020 the year that we're willing to invite our friends to come with us more than we've ever done it before. And we see an explosion happen here on Wednesday nights, an explosion happen on Sunday mornings, an explosion of growth where students are coming and they're coming to know Christ because you were faithful to share the difference more this year in 2020. Finally, we want to make a difference more. We want to make a difference more. Now, listen, I want to say this. I am very proud of what I have seen throughout the last year in the snack pack ministry, as I have seen more and more and more of you involved in the snack pack ministry, because we are making an impact. We are making a difference in children's lives each year, right? And this year we have more kids than we had last year, right? And so we are making a difference in more kids' lives through the snack pack ministry. Right, I love what we do through World Changers, as we're making a difference in Little Rock and in Houston, and then this year we're going to New Orleans. We're making a difference for Jesus in all of these places, in the lives of these people. And through the Tarrant Area Food Bank, which we've done off and on over the last couple of years, right? We are able to put food in people's homes and on their plates because we are willing to serve. It's a simple thing, right? Just sorting that food. But we're willing to go out and give a few hours, and we're able to make a difference in their lives, right? I'm very proud of what we're doing, right? But I would love to see us making a difference more as individuals and as a group. And part of this means, right, just being willing to look for ways to make a difference in your teacher's life. Get an A on the test. That'll make a difference, right? Look for ways to make a difference in your friends' lives, in your family members' lives. Look for ways to make a difference in your neighbor's life, right? Don't let it just be something that you have to do within these walls, with these groups. Well, I'm only going to make a difference with the student ministry, right? Be an ambassador for Christ at your school. Be an ambassador for Christ in your neighborhood and make a difference in the lives of people around you more than you have ever done before, which means you're going to have to look for ways to make a difference. But this year, let's be a people that, yes, we are living the difference, we're sharing the difference, we're making a difference just like we did last year, but this year, we are doing it more. Let that word more get stuck in your head like a bad Disney song, right? And just sing that word more all year long, right? And don't let it go, all right? What's that? Let that word more get stuck in your head, and let's live out this vision of more throughout 2020, and let's see God do more as we are willing to be more faithful than we have ever been before.
I'm no longer a slave to fear. I am a child